right, it's time to start. Everybody come help us sing. Number 44 is the first, second, and last verse. 350.
couple of ways in my life at times that I have viewed prayer meetings. Maybe times in my life when I wasn't exactly where I needed to be, and my heart wasn't as true to the Lord as it should be, or saved, just really not where I needed to be. Prayer meeting at times when I was young, I was made to go. On nights like this, when the weather was nice outside, all my friends were playing ball, I'd probably rather stay home. And I'm glad I was made to come. And at times, sometimes being careful, coming to Wednesday night prayer meeting when you worked all week, you're tired, think about your brother, and maybe had a prayer meeting. Well, I'm tired tonight, and the church will be all right if I don't go. They won't miss me too much, but sometimes you come maybe out of duty. I find that it's a whole lot better when you come because you see it's a privilege. Because the Lord, what He's done for you, and you want to make it do something, bring Him honor and glory, get more out of the service. So I want us to be mindful of the Lord tonight. If He touch you, that you'll be obedient. I was thinking today, even when church time started, several folks that I've talked to over the last few weeks have talked about maybe getting their last dose of vaccine, whatever that is, and coming back to church. And this is what I'll say about that. I hope they do. I hope they do. And we need them. And they need the church. I want us to remember Brother Bryce tonight as he stands for the Lord. And, whether you've been preaching 20 years or this be your second time, you'll always need the Lord. He'll do anything. When you've had prayer meeting once or 100 times, it still takes the Lord to help you. Without Him passing by, we can do nothing. And so we've come tonight. I want us to try to pray. If you can, will, you want to, gather around the altar with us. We'll pray together, take prayer requests. If the Lord would lay somebody on your heart, you feel like testifying, giving the Lord thanks, you should be, feel free to do that. You should be obedient tonight. If you want to help our brother, you be obedient tonight. We'll all leave after a while saying it's been good to be among God's people. Anybody tonight got a prayer request, testimony, anything at all on your heart, we'll try to pray.
Remember my children and grandchildren.
Yes, ma'am, Sister Sheila. Bless you, sister. Anybody else, anything at all?
The Travis has every family member that came from different states, and they're trying, I think they're leaving tomorrow, so it's only church from different states.
So, certainly, if the Lord will let you, still remember Sister Bonita. Touch her, comfort her. Anybody else, anything at all?
Remember my brother on like this, yeah.
God saved me.
Yes.
They've been saved so far.
Bless her to hear that. God bless her. Somebody else?
Remember our lost loved one. Remember our country too.
So,
Brother Travis, remember the lost my family.
appreciate the
I'd
Lord.
like to request prayer for our two daughters. I'd like the church to remember them, and remember our two grandchildren. Our oldest one, she lost a good friend last Saturday. She had a massive heart attack, and she passed away. Tomorrow's her funeral. My oldest one, she's a hairdresser, and she went and did her hair yesterday, because they requested her to do it, because she was the only one that, went and seen our daughter do her hair. And so I want y'all to remember her too. she'll be strong tomorrow to get through this, because like I said, she's gotta say bye to one of her best friends that she went to school with. I like, y'all remember my brothers and sisters, your prayers.
Sister. Appreciate the Lord watching over all of us and traveling Sunday night. Felt like the Lord met with us. Appreciate the Lord helping us in service, but we got a call that morning about Michael Stetson, a tornado had touched down in Thompsonville. And nobody was hurt, thankfully, some buildings destroyed, but I got to thinking about that. And it is, sometimes we take so many things for granted, but it is just by the Lord's mercy. He allowed us to get down there and back, and He watched over our brothers and sisters in that area, so appreciate that. Anybody else, anything at all, we try to pray.
Brother Travis, we've been praying for, and I'd asked prayer for some things in my family. Christopher had some medical tests, and they all came back really good. I thank the Lord for that.
Yes, sir.
You've been burdened. You know how young people are, they don't like to say they're burdened.
Mm-hmm.
You've been burdened. I thank God they lifted that off of you.
Yes, sir. Just remember those that are searching. There's some that know what they're looking for God's opened their eyes, and they saw their need, and some here in the last few weeks, searching that out. And there's others that are searching but have no idea what they're looking for. The Bible talks about groping in the darkness. And remember Him. Remember Him. Father-in-law picked him up yesterday from work when he's driving down, heading to the 2nd Street Bridge and going down, I guess it's Brook Street. We got down there in front of Old Mill High School, and I don't know what they've got going on down there. Somebody told me there's a needle exchange program or something going on, but we're driving down through there just in about a 100-yard stretch. Saw one man passed out on the side of the road, laying face down in the grass. A couple of other ones walking down the road, screaming at themselves and yelling at themselves. And as a preacher, that's pitiful. It is pitiful. And sometimes if I'm not careful, I get aggravated. But it is just by the Lord's grace. That's not me. One of my kids, that's what been good to us. Singing that song, thank you, Lord, for your blessings on me. Think about the fine family, the food to eat, clothes, and all those things. But the best part about that song, it talks about His love. Outside of that, none of the other things mean anything. Anybody else, you think we'll try to pray? Brother Bryce, he knows this, I told him this, and I want him to preach whatever the Lord lays on his heart. And if that's 5 minutes, whatever. He's all way the Lord. He'll just follow the Spirit, and we'll take care of the rest. All right, everybody ready to pray? All right, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father in heaven, we come to you, Lord. Father, we praise you back. You know, God, tonight, Lord, you're in control. We trust you. Without you, God, we know we can do nothing. Don't even, God, want to try. Tonight, I pray. Try to do today. God, pray most help for this hour. Pray, God, that you grant, Lord, every need of this hour. Pray, Lord, for us. Liberty, God, clarity of thought and mind. We ask you for saving. You know how to get your word out, God. Us as we and God just leave them out. We pray tonight. God, you will pray tonight, God, that you give us a receptive heart. Hear the heart, God. Give us a passionate heart. Need you, God. Without you, we'll feel to help it. All of these requests, God, for our people. God, we may not be able to mention every one of them, God, let's bring them back to us. Thank you, Lord, for hearing. God, we know that you're faithful, God, and pray, God, that you have a heart, Lord. Thank you, God. Have your way, God, with it. In Jesus' name we beg. Amen.
Let me say the line. Let me know what I'm saying. So, we Luke chapter number 15, chapter 15, Luke chapter 15. We start with the 8th verse. And he said, a certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that fall on me to me. And he divided unto them the living. And not many days after the younger son gathered all together, and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there rose a mighty famine in the land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into the fields to feed swine, and he would fain having filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave him to him. And tonight I've just been thinking, it seems like this afternoon God just changed what I was going to preach, and it seemed like I was going to preach on a totally different direction tonight. I was going to preach on don't waste your inheritance. And it seems like every day you see somebody just fall out of church and they're wasting their lives on something that they cannot get back. They cannot get time back that didn't serve the Lord. I've been thinking about that all. It seemed like last week I went over to Smyrna. I was preaching on the same chapter. That was beating me up all day. You didn't preach on that. That's an old thought. And the Lord just let me have this talk tonight. And I seemed like I just couldn't get away from it all day. And it just kept on coming back. Don't waste your inheritance.
Yes, sir.
It's so important
Right.
in this church. And to be a member of the church is a lot more than what you think. Just being come here every time the doors are open. And Lord help me tonight. I begin to think, and I have a lot of family members at our church.
Yes,
I begin to think that they're just wasting their lives, just walking around the dark, and they don't know what else to do, and they're wasting their lives on this inheritance that's been set before us in our lives and our family. It's really important. We have a big family. Most of us here are Benningfield or related to Benningfield, and I begin to think about people who in our family that were in this religion and brought us to church all our lives, and they handed us down to us, and been thinking about Brother Jim and this church and what he started this church, and they handed us down to this generation started coming to this church, and the people are out there wasting this inheritance, this important inheritance that God gave them, that people gave them, they're wasting their time, that people put hard and dedicated time to this church and into their religion and to everything going on right now, and they're wasting it. And it's breaking my heart and seeing all levels to see them just wasted and not have any joy, not any peace, and not anything else in their life, and not any substance, not being satisfied. And I was just thinking, probably 2.5 years, 3 years, or if I call it 3, I sit there every Sunday, and that third bench back there, and I would just sit here, and I wouldn't retain a word Brother Travis said. I'm sorry, Brother Travis. I was just out there, I would come in on Wednesday night, and I began to think, and I would say, I'll come. I don't want to hear nobody say that about me, because I just want to come, and I'll be good, and I'll live out the word all week, come in on Sunday morning, Wednesday night, and think everything be okay. But it wasn't, and I realized I was in the word, I was wasting my time. The precious time the Lord gave me that I could be serving Him, preaching His word, doing everything I do in my power. And He would come by and come past my heart and say, "You tell that call preach." I'll say, "No, God, I don't want that. That is not fitting in my life. I ain't going to waste my life on that. I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to do what I'm not called to do that." I've been down myself, and I said, I'm not. At one point, I believe I wasn't even saved. And Brother Travis said that. I'm glad. I didn't matter, but I just got, when God just got about tired of me and threw that light on me, He said, you're called to preach. You got to do this. You're running out of time. My draw's fine. You can't go anywhere else. I'm glad when you draw a line, I went to God. I didn't go to the world. Seems like in that 2.5, 3 years, I would come in on Wednesday night, sit down in my pew, not do anything. Lord passed by, testify, sing a song. I said no, because I was afraid, Lord. It would come out that I would be a preacher. I was so scared that I would get captive in the spirit, and I would just lose all, and I would just say, God called me to preach, and I'd be out of everything. I would not be able to do nothing. I began to think, seems like people nowadays that just wasted it all, and I began to think, and said he joined himself to this country, to the citizen of this country, and he really just joined himself to this citizen of the country. He was saying he joined himself to the country. He linked up with somebody and joined himself to that country, and he followed that citizen around, and the citizen told him to go and go in the fields and began to go in the fields and work. And he began to be famed. He would say, fame means he would be pleased as he bellied full with the husk.
Right.
I began to be fit. When I was out in the world for that 2.5, 3 years, when I would run through my call to preach, it seemed like I would just want to feel myself on the world. Every time the world gave me something, I was just trying to feel myself on it. And it kept on wearing out to the point where I was not satisfied with anything the world gave me. I was satisfied with the touch of God. That's the only thing that was satisfied. A pure Christian is the touch of God once in a while. And that's a good thing. The Lord just puts in your heart. And it's pushing in your heart. And you're His and He's mine. I'm glad tonight that I'm His. And I can't even join this word if I want to. I can't even leave this religion. I can't even leave Him if I wanted to. But the parents, I mean, think about that. He won't leave this little town way left and right, but they can't leave Him. He won't get out of church left and right, but they can't leave Him. He ain't never left me. I left Him many times. I said, no, God, I ain't going to do that. Yeah, I'm going to do my own way. But you know what? He never left me, not one time.
That's right, brother.
And then he came to himself. He said, how many hired servants of my father's? Yes, so my father had bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger, and I will rise and go to my father's house and I will stand against Father. I have sinned against heaven and before thee, and I am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And he arose and came to his father, but when he was yet afar off, his father saw him, and he had compassion and ran and fell on his neck. And the son said unto the father, I have sinned against heaven, and in thy sight I am no more worthy to be called thy son. But the father said to his servants, bring forth the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet, and bring hither the fat calf and kill it. And let us eat. And I began to think when I came back into the Father, there was my celebration going in my heart because it felt so good to be in the Father's house, and He put that ring on my hand. When I first got saved, He put that ring on my hand. That ring symbolized the eternal bond between the Father and the Son, and that robe is that new robe put on, that old coat on, that new coat put on. And those sandals is what we walk in righteousness. And I begin to think, seemed like I was rejoicing that I'm glad that when I was out in the world, I came back to the Father and He received me. Some people don't. Some religions, if you go out, they won't receive you back. They won't. They really won't. And I like Charles Spurgeon. I got a quote here I just want to read for you real quick, and I might just sit down. The prodigal son must have been mad to act like that. If we're able to leave him who has been the dwelling place of the saints in all generations, to quit the warm and comfort of the church of God, which is the home of joy and peace, is clear insanity. Anyone who does this is acting against his own best interest, and is choosing the path of shame and sorrow, and is casting away all his delight, and he must be mad. Tonight, I just want to leave with you, do not waste your inheritance. It's more important tonight. Do not waste that. It's important to just leave the church, live your best life in the Lord, and just come to church and do what the Lord tells you to do. That's all I got, Travis. I can't go no further.
Good thought.
Yes, sir.
Read prodigal son. I've made this statement many times, but it's always stuck with me. That part in there where it says, he came to himself. I don't know how many times I found myself in that same exact spot. Where I come to myself, the Lord let me know, saw where I was. As the brother said tonight, when you come back to the Lord, you come back right, you'll always receive.
Right.
You'll always receive.
That's right.
Well, Mom, won't you come in? Got a long time. your heart. I've preached on that scripture many times over the years, different thoughts. I firmly believe when those two boys, Brother Lee was growing up together, Brother Billy when they was young and in the Father's house, I believe they both content. Played together, enjoyed the blessings of the Father. There come a time when one of them got discontent with maybe how things were going, and no doubt the lure of the world began to pull on you. And there's a parallel there when I've seen this many times over the years. Somebody first gets saved, they can't wait to get to church. They love everybody in the church. Preaching's always just right. Singing's always good. And then over time, they come down off that mountain.
Right.
You step off those clouds.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, things can begin to pull on you. And that joy that you once had just from coming to church now seems more like a burden than a joy. And it's important if you ever get in that situation, and let me tell you that you will get in that situation. Nobody, when they get saved, stays on a mountaintop forever. There's hard times, there's low times, there's tough times spiritually. There's times when everything down at the church won't go to suit you. But when those times come, just remember where He come got you from. Remember that there is still joy in serving Jesus. And as long as, I heard a man preaching the other day, and he made this statement. He said, I heard this pastor, he said, the pastor called me and said, preacher, you ain't going to believe it. He said, down there where I pastor, he said, we got all kinds of problems. He said, you know why? He said, why? He said, because you got people. As long as you deal with people, you're going to have problems. We've all got it. But he was just encouraging the young preacher, stay with the stuff, keep preaching, keep loving them. I'd say this to you. Don't let the world pull you away. Brother read tonight where he went to, he didn't start off to join himself with that country. He sojourned. He just made a trip. Old songwriter said it like this, and I think it's right. I know it's right. Sin, it'll take you further than you want to go.
Yeah.
It'll keep you longer than you want to stay, and it certainly will cost you more than you want to pay. All kinds of pictures in there. That prodigal son come to himself, started back toward the Father's house. And we was riding down the road the other day, and some of y'all will know this song, maybe many of you will. Song back in the 80s, real popular, and I hadn't heard it in a long time. But it kind of got me, Lord kind of used it to bless me the other day. Jim Hamill used to sing with the Kingdom come out. And I know I've heard Brother Tommy Wallace sing that song, but they called it the Apple Tree song. It kind of just gives an illustration of a young man that got me at home, ended up striking his dad out of anger, and they run him off and told him he had to leave. He said he ran all over this country for 2 to 3 years, got right with the Lord, was on the train coming back, sat across from the preacher. He said that preacher said, I just want to talk to him, make small talk. And he said big tears running down his eyes. He said, I told him, I'm a preacher, I'd like to help any way I can. And goes on to say this in the song. The young man begins to tell the preacher about what he had done, and how he struck his father. He said, I've been writing mom and dad letters. He said, I got right with the Lord. He said, I've been writing mom and dad letters, asking if it was okay if I could come home. And he said, we live by these railroad tracks. And he said, we get ready to come up from our house. And I told him, it's okay for me to come home. Just tie a white rag on top of that apple tree. He said, they pulled her coming down there. He said, the young man said, preacher, I can't even look. He said, the preacher looked at me. He said, son, you ain't got anything to worry about. He said, they got white rags tied all over that. He said, out there, through that old apple tree, the old gray hair mom and dad waving a big white bed sheet, saying, come on home. You get right, you come back right,
Yes.
God will always take you back.
Yes.
Amen.
Always. Remember what John said? John said, Little children, I write these things unto you that you sin not. We don't have a license to sin. When we get saved, we know better. Brother Dave says this all the time. Brother Amanda says it ever since I was a boy, and he's right. We don't make mistakes and sin. We sin because we're drawn away of our own lust.
Amen.
And we sin willfully. But he said, I write these things that you sin not. If you do, he said, we've got an advocate with the Father. What that means is, I'm glad we got somebody we can turn to. And I hate to admit this to you, but if you're honest, you're like this too. We sin and come short daily.
Yeah.
Daily. Maybe not outwardly, but what goes on in here sometimes is a wicked mess. I'm glad we put on the inside of here is real. Amen. We got a Bible says a goodly inheritance. What he said in the book of Psalms. So it's a good message tonight, Brother Bryce. And I will encourage you, and church, I want us to make sure we encourage the young Christian. Like him, love him, uphold him. Pray the Lord will touch him, help him to grow. Appreciate it. Appreciate your thoughts tonight. Anybody got anything at all? Anything on your heart? Anything you need to say or do? Service Sunday morning. The Lord touch us and help us. We need his touch. My heart's free. We've got business meeting tonight. We'll take care of that. All right, brother Vaughn, come ahead.